This Jocks 94.5 podcast is brought to you by Millennium Satellite and Video. Log on to msbnow.com. TV excellence everywhere. That's Millennium. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning starts now.
God, the commercial breaks are so good. 8:22 Monday, August 25th, right here on Jocks. Before we get to Brandon Marcello, talk big picture college football. Shannara Flooring, GMAC, they can help our listeners out. How?
Yeah, they can. They're great. And they have so much CoreTech flooring by Shaw in stock right now. That CoreTech flooring is beautiful. It has durable, dependable, long-lasting, just amazing across the board. You'll be very, very grateful of the experience you have if you install that CoreTech flooring by Shaw in stock by Shannara Flooring. You also are going to get $10 off per box. So you can stack some savings right now if you order that CoreTech flooring from Shannara Flooring. So go to fooandyou.com. You can check it out. Look at all the different options. It's beautiful, and it will upgrade the amount of value that you have in your home. You'll make money on this deal down the road, so be glad that you did. You can also finance it for 12 months, so highly recommend you going and checking that out as well. Go to fooandyou.com. That's fooandyou.com, and you can use Shannara Flooring if you want to upgrade throughout. They have plenty of options beyond the CoreTech, but you can still get $10 off per box on that CoreTech. So take advantage of their inventory now by going to fooandyou.com.
All right, let's go to the Higginbotham hotline and welcome in Brandon Marcello. We will spare you the Rick Trickett kicker speed rush drills that we used to do at Auburn until maybe the next segment or so. Brandon, we want some big picture views at college football heading into this season for you. Is there a team this weekend that you feel like you need to learn the most from that can maybe contend for a playoff spot, contend for a national championship, that you can't find a way to completely put your finger on them just yet? You don't know exactly what they're going to be, but you want to believe that they can go win a title. You want to believe that they can make a deep playoff run.
Yeah, Miami, to me. Not necessarily that I believe they could. Not believe that they can win a title, but maybe that they can maybe win the ACC this year and maybe win a game in the playoff, because they've got a great collection of talent. They've got a new defensive coordinator. They have shifted things up defensively. I was down there this spring, and they've changed things defensively, obviously schematically, but also the personnel is almost completely different on the back end. And, Carson Beck was not practicing this spring, so I don't quite know what they are going to look like. I just know that what they could be based off of the pieces they have down there, and they're fascinating to me. And we get to see them completely, on display this weekend against Notre Dame to see if they can put all those things together quickly right off the bat.
Yeah, it's hard to push back on that. I think Miami's gonna be really good. Maybe I'm just too deep in the weeds. That's my game week one. I just think Miami's got a chance to have really, really solid season. We'll see. It'll be fascinating to watch. I want to get to Auburn quickly and how they've upgraded their roster. Very optimistic about it. I think they're playing against a really good Baylor team, a team that I think will create a lot of problems for a lot of teams this season. How do you think that game's going to go?
I like Baylor in this one, playing at home on a Friday night and with Sawyer at quarterback. I mean, we saw that offense, what it could really be capable of doing down the stretch late last season. I don't think that was necessarily a fluke. I do think that was literally just them turning the page to what this will be this season. And listen, until Auburn wins a critical game under Hugh Freeze, I'm going to keep doubting them, because I thought last year that they were going to turn a corner, and they most certainly didn't. You're going to have to prove to me that Jackson Arnold is going to be the Jackson Arnold that we saw in high school as a potential recruit with a high ceiling until I see it on the field. They've got a great collection of talent, as you mentioned. I mean, they've got a top 5 receiver room. That offensive line I've heard really, really good things about, and that's a good thing to hear, because for the longest time, Auburn's offensive line, at least what people have always told me, has always been the issue. And they better win some games this year and show us what they're capable of achieving, considering that great collection of talent they've got. But I'm telling you, Friday night, I'm liking Baylor in that one.
I think we're all going to be locked into that one for so many different reasons. Brandon Marcello joining us, talking college football from a little bit more of a national scale here as we get week 1 kicked off on Jocks. What has to happen for that to take place? You kind of mentioned Auburn get over the hump. There are countless things that we could point to of, quarterback play, some game management, different decisions, personnel, attitude, whatever it is. What do you look at from Hugh Freeze and his program and say, this has to happen for them to get to where you're describing?
Great quarterback play. I think it's as simple as that. I mean, it's how Hugh Freeze's career has practically been defined his entire time in the SEC, and for that matter, even at Liberty. I mean, he was seen as the quarterback whisperer, and he hasn't done that at Auburn. It's been a carousel of just mediocre to horrible play. And to grab Jackson Arnold out of the transfer portal, you're hoping and betting on getting the type of guy that everybody saw coming out of high school and not the guy we saw at OU that was playing around a bunch of pieces that got injured, that were in and out, an offensive line that was really, really struggling at Oklahoma, and a coaching staff that didn't completely fully trust him at OU, and it showed. But you saw Arnold, the flashes of brilliance, not just as a passer, but being able to take over games and having to run for his life and pick up first downs at times for OU. But he's got all the pieces now to be successful at Auburn. He's got an offensive line. He's got a great receiver core. He's got a pretty good stable of running backs. And I just sit here and go, if Auburn can't win with what they've got on the field this year, then when are they going to be able to under Hugh Freeze?
Totally fair. What about Alabama this weekend? When you look at kind of that matchup, and I know, look, a lot of your focus will be on Auburn. I know a lot of our focus across the board will be on Auburn. But just knowing the ramifications of this possibility this weekend, if Alabama goes out and just wipes the floor with Florida State, wins huge, I think the reaction will be marginal. That's what people expect. They're a 2-touchdown favorite. If that game's close and Bama wins, will there be an overreaction for all the wrong reasons? Or do you think they'll be satisfied just with the win, or does it need to be a convincing win?
I would hope there wouldn't be an overreaction if it was a close win, but we know there will be. Just because I don't think you can really predict what Florida State's really going to look like. Having said that, I'm expecting this game to look a lot like the Alabama-Wisconsin game a year ago on the road. Florida State's just not going to have the horses to keep up with Alabama, and I think Alabama is not just going to be a playoff team this year. They're going to make a run this year. With everything they've got on that roster, and Kalen DeBoer finally having Ryan Grubb there beside him to help tool that offense, a quarterback that fits in that system. And Florida State, no matter even if they had great talent all around them, it's all new. They're all putting it all together. And that's game 1. I have big questions. And, I've heard mixed reviews on Tommy Castellanos at quarterback in preseason camp. I don't know. I think a lot of people just assume Florida State's going to bounce back this year, and they probably will. They probably will be a bowl team, but I'm not expecting them to do much more than be barely a bowl team this year.
Brandon Marcello joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, talking National College Football. When you look at some of the national championship contenders, I think you could take Clemson, Penn State, kind of push them to the side. We would all agree that there are a lot of reasons we should be having discussions about them maybe going to the college football playoffs, making a deep run, potentially even winning. Ohio State's a team that I still wonder why people don't ask more questions about. It seems to be just dismissed or pushed to the side of, yeah, but they're Ohio State. Where are you on the Buckeyes heading into this season?
Yeah, I'm with you. I had to do some picks yesterday, and I picked Texas. I'm going to be up there this weekend. I can't wait to watch it just because, well, it's a great matchup, but also I've got questions, like you do, about Ohio State. We talk all about the quarterback situation, that we're losing all those pieces on defense. You've got a new coordinator calling plays on defense, and Matt Patricia, after Jim Knowles, who I believe to be the best defensive coordinator in college football. He's no longer with the program. You're also breaking in a couple of new starters or guys who are going to be carrying the load there at running back. It's just like across the board in every level. You're going, all right, that's a new guy. Well, that's a guy we've seen a little bit of, but we don't know much about. So I'm with you there. Having said that, they're deep. They've got a lot of blue chip talent out there. It's just, is it all going to be put together? Week 1, week 2, I have my doubts. If this was played on a neutral site, I would see Texas winning by a touchdown or 10 points or so. But because it's at Ohio State, it's going to be a little bit closer. But I got to go with Texas because at least we've seen them all most of those pieces play together already and see what they're capable of achieving, including with Arch Manning. I mean, he's been throwing the fold and has started a couple of games last year, and with a lot of those same guys around him. Ohio State, I mean, there's something to be said about coming off and winning a national championship, and a lot of the guys who won it for you are no longer there, but that shadow is hanging over you, and you're going to go play in front of your fans for the first time since winning a national championship. And man, that's a lot of pressure on these guys to perform, and you're having to do so against the number one team in the country. That's a difficult, tall task.
Is there another team that you feel like is lacking discussion on the flip side of that? Like we mentioned, Ohio State maybe not getting discussion as to why they can't. Is there a team that you look at and say, why is this team not getting more about what they can do this upcoming season, specifically as it pertains to playoff or maybe national title?
LSU, I'm not certain. Maybe people are talking about them more than I think, but I think LSU's. I mean, they've got all the pieces, right, to win it this year. And everybody, I think, when we talk about LSU, everybody shifts their focus just on the conversation of Brian Kelly. Is there pressure on Brian Kelly? Well, sure, there's pressure on Brian Kelly, but also they got a lot of freaking great talent. I mean, the best thing that happened to them this offseason was losing Bryce Underwood to Michigan because they were able to spend their NIL money on other players, especially defensively. I mean, the pieces they added defensively are fantastic. That's going to be a team that's built to win the SEC this year. I have questions, though, just because of the schedule and the way that schedule is kind of structured, including this week at Clemson. We all want to focus on the negative, it seems like, with LSU, 0-5 in the last 5 season openers. I understand that. This is probably their toughest season opener, considering all those other games were mostly neutral site games. But I think that if they beat Clemson this week, everybody's going to suddenly go, hey, LSU's that team that can maybe win the national championship this year. But they've got it all, in my opinion, to be able to make that type of run on paper already.
Brandon, we appreciate the time, man. Great stuff. Getting us set for college football. Always a pleasure catching up with you, and enjoy the season. Having fun with that one this weekend. That's going to be a good one, no doubt.
Yeah, I can't wait. See you guys.
Brandon Marcello hopping on the Higginbotham hotline, talking some big picture college football with us. And interesting to hear, Greg, obviously LSU's gotten a lot of conversation here. We have mentioned that. You're high on LSU.
Very.
Have you kind of thought the same thing about Ohio State, though? I going over through more college football things, either in the car this weekend or trying to listen to different things working out as it pertains to this season. Very few people are stopping to ask real questions about this Ohio State team.
No, you're not allowed to.
There are a lot of people that are just kind of swipe left. They're good. Like, it's okay. We have no concerns about them.
You're not allowed to ask them. That's why. As evidenced by.
I talked to somebody at a birthday.
I have them 8th, and their fans are freaking out on me. I'm like, I feel like that's a pretty fair place to have them.
Right.
Last year I had Michigan, I think, 15th.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
No.
I had a conversation at a birthday party Saturday night with a guy, and he's like, "Oh, I think Julian's saying, though." And I just responded, "What about him?"
Yeah.
I'm like, you tell me what you've seen that has wowed you so much, because I didn't know it was out there.
Yep.
Very small sample size of what he even has a chance to be. So it's just interesting, and I know we get a few of these teams every year that's just like, well, but they're so-and-so. And it's just it's really holding strong, and I get it. You won a national title last year. Great. But the two big things that we have referenced on this show as to why they did it, one, yes, everybody talks about who you went and got to help. A couple of those guys weren't even healthy for that playoff run. But the core of your team that sustained and that you were able to keep, that had been there for a while, a litany of 5-star guys that had not always played like 5-star guys that showed up in the postseason. And I don't know if this team has that core to just lean on later in the year. Maybe they do, and I don't know about them. But I hadn't heard about or seen the tape on some of these young kids at Ohio State that I guess are just going to take over college football.
Well, no one denies the get-off-the-bus nature of Ohio State.
Absolutely.
No one's going to deny the talent. And if you talk to people around the program, they suggest, now, I don't know this. I haven't watched them practice. I haven't watched them play. And those that have watched teams practice, How many people listening to this show have respect for Nick Saban's opinion on personnel? Allow me to raise my hand. I have respect.
Pretty good about that.
Yeah, I think he kind of knows what he's talking about. Last year, he went and he watched Florida State in the preseason prior to them playing against Georgia Tech in the first game of the year in Dublin last year, and he said this is the most talented roster in the ACC. Nick Saban said that. They went 2-10. And that's not to discredit anything Coach isn't saying that if he doesn't believe that. They probably did have among the most talented rosters in the ACC, and it didn't work. We know Ohio State has one of the most talented rosters in the Big Ten, if not the most talented roster in the Big Ten. But the pieces still have to come together. Talent does not always equal wins. Now, wins are the result of talent in many cases, but it doesn't always mean that just because you have talent, you're all of a sudden the best team. That's what I'm curious about with Ohio State this year. And I'm in see it to believe it mode. I think Texas is going to win this Saturday. I think Texas is going to win. Now,
why is that a crazy pick, by the way? I mean,
is it?
I've heard some people just be like, what? Huh?
You can't go in the horseshoe. Well, Michigan did last year.
I mean, I could absolutely see where Ohio State finds a way to win the game, but I just I've also seen multiple people saying that it's this crazy thought that Texas can go win this game. It's you could flip a coin on most talented rosters. I know what you can't flip a coin on: how much talent has actually shown what they can do in meaningful games for the two rosters. That's Texas by a landslide here. So I don't know why it's this crazy thought that, you know, Texas can go up there and win that game. Well, they don't know what they're going to get defensively. I have confidence in Sark putting together a plan. I'll just say that. I think his plan is going to be fine. Now, will the offensive line be able to block him? That's what I don't know.
Fair question.
And that can get you killed in a hurry. So maybe that's the difference in the game. Texas can't run the ball. And all of a sudden, you got a bunch of 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 12s, and Archer's under pressure, and you force him into a pick or here or there. Whatever, okay, that can happen. But to think that they just don't have the talent or the roster or the experience, like I've seen Ryan Wingo, seen Trey Moore, seen Colin Simmons, seen B.J. Hill. I know what they can do. Seen them. I've seen some Caleb Downs. I mean, it's not that there's none. I get it, but I think it's going to be a hell of a game. It's going to make for one.
Which way are you leaning right now?
Texas. I lean Texas right now.
Is it because you're an SEC homer?
That's the reason, mainly. Yes. But even when I get past that, I say to myself again, remove all your SEC bias, and I still go Texas.
They have less questions. Doesn't mean they'll win. The fact that they have less questions does not equal a win. It just means that until I see Ohio State with my own two eyes in a game, I'm not talking about practice. Like we just talked about, Nick Saban, the best evaluator of talent I've ever seen, or among the best. He went to a practice for Florida State and said that's the most talented roster. I would imagine that if Nick Saban went to Ohio State, he'd tell you that's the most talented roster.
Yep. At
least in the Big Ten. Does not mean they are going to have all the answers to the test. That's what I'm curious about. It's going to be a tremendous game. I can't wait for it.
The end of summer savings event is on at Royal Buick GMC. Here's some discounts that you're going to find. Get a 2025 GMC Sierra SLT Premium Plus X31 with sunroof with a list price of $71,610 for $57,110. That's a savings of $14,500. Have you seen the 2025 Buick Encore GX Sporting Touring SUV? It lists for $30,575. It's been reduced by $5,100. Buy it today for $25,475. All offers valid through September 2nd, 2025. Certain restrictions apply with approved credit. Save money and upgrade your ride at Royal Buick GMC, home of the $75 dock fee. Royal Buick GMC at the corner of I-65 and Highway 31 of Vestavia. Remember, for every ride, there's Royal. All right, more of your tweets at Mac and Cube. Calls in your questions, concerns, things you're looking to learn about teams this weekend. 800-239-9569 next on Jocks.
Go inside Jocks 94.5 on Jocks TV. Morning Jocks, Mac and Cube, three-man front video simulcasts are presented by Bill Smith Buick GMC and Game Day Men's Health. Watch on the Jocks mobile app and YouTube by searching Jocks 94.5 TV.